into our video on how to apply for your Director ID number. Two things I want to go through before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of it. First of all is that this is a live system. I'm actually doing my personal Director ID application. The result of that is that my personal details are going to be on the screen, in which I will be blurring any personal information out. So parts of the screen will be blurred, probably at vital times where you want to see exactly what it looks like. I'll blur as little as possible, but I have to protect the information out there. Being a live system also, I don't know what all the screens look like. There's no test, there's no demo. We don't get given information on what all of this is. So as I'm working through it, I need to read the screens at the same time as you guys. So if it feels a little disjointed, because we may need to edit parts of it out, if it feels disjointed, if it's not as smooth as it probably could be, I'll apologise. It's just the situation we're in, unfortunately. Second thing I want to go through is why we need a Director ID number. Government consolidating give or take 30 registers together. Apart from trying to eliminate the deliberate fraud, which is obvious, they're trying to just consolidate everybody to one name. So I take directors and the director list at the moment. When you become a director and you add your details to ASIC, you're giving them your name, your address, date of birth, place of birth. But there's no checks that that information is either accurate or consistent. So if you're a director of multiple companies, you could be Adam Sellers on the first one and Adam Bruce Sellers, i.e. with your middle name, on the second one. And then those are two separate records. No way of matching them up. If you were looking at it and you saw Adam Sellers with the same date of birth, place of birth, and Adam Bruce Sellers, same date of birth, place of birth, you'd probably realise they're the same. But government registers don't work that way. It would be two different listings. From I suppose, reducing red tape point of view, the idea at the end of the day is that when you change your address in one system, all systems are updated. In order for that to happen, it must be one consistent thing across the board, across everything. So the government is looking to make your full legal name the only name that appears on any of these registers. That's the ultimate goal here. So that's why we need to use our MyGov ID, use our identification documents in order to make this Director ID work. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, to actually apply for your Director ID number, you need to go to the new ABRS website, www.abrs.gov.au. This is what will show up, or at least as of today, that's what shows up. And at the top here, you just need to go to Director Identification Number. There's some information about it, little video about Director ID, who needs to apply, actually applying, verifying your identity. So there's information about what information it needs to verify you, and once you've got your Director ID, how to manage it. We're going to click on Apply. Shows up here with some information. Really quickly, while step one is set up a MyGov ID, you don't actually need a MyGov ID if you want to go through and do it by phone or by paper. I will note if you're doing it by paper, you need certified ID documents. Accountants can't certify these for whatever reason, I'm not sure why. My guess is that because we're largely instrumental in getting people appointed as directors, if there is any fraud involved, they just want to separate accountants from the actual certification, I guess. Your guess is as good as mine at this point. But yeah, there are alternatives, but the ATO and we highly recommend doing it via MyGov ID if possible. If you don't have a MyGov ID set up, I recommend trying it. The ATO and the government entirely is moving all their online services to use this MyGov ID. So at some stage it'll be a situation where you can't deal with the ATO unless you have a MyGov ID set up. So you may as well jump in, try and get it done now. It'll make your life easier down the track. So if you've already got your MyGov ID, you don't need to do step one. You don't need to set up another one or anything like that. If you don't have a MyGov ID, there's a link here on how to set it up. We also have an Insights article on setting up your MyGov ID and ATO online services all in one page there. It's got a video on setting up your MyGov ID, which is start to finish process. It's a screenshot of an actual Android phone, goes through identification, goes through everything. So I highly recommend you watch that. So it's an Insights article on our website, or you can just go to our YouTube channel, and it's one of the videos on our YouTube channel. One of the videos in there. So go through, set up your MyGov ID. Step 2 is to gather your documents and your information together. Tax file number, residential address as held by the ATO, really important, as held by the ATO, and 2 more bits of documents from down here. Now, the first 3 you can obtain from within your MyGov account and your ATO online services relatively easily. And I'm about to splice in a video that goes through where to find those, but I will highlight that the bank account details may be your accountant's bank account details if you use an accountant. That is because in a lot of cases your refund is sent to your accountant, who will then check it, check your notice of assessment, deduct any fees, and then send you the balance. But that means your bank account details that you asked to enter are not actually yours, it's your accountant's. So just bear that in mind, that if it's not working, have a look in your MyGov account to see what's on there. Have a look on your tax return on the first page, might be the second page, depending on the software your accountant uses. But on there it'll say the actual bank account details, BSB account number. Okay, so it may be your accountants that you need, but you can find that out from MyGov. And I'm about to splice in a video that goes through exactly where to find those first 3 items. The last 3 you'll just have to find, if you have any of those, find those statements. I'll see you back here in 2 seconds. Okay, to save some time, I've got my MyGov account open already. From here you need to connect and open the ATO. If you don't have the ATO showing up here, you need to link it. We go through the linking, setting up your MyGov account, everything else in another video. It's on our YouTube channel. Hopefully there is a link up there for you to look at. If you need any help with that, give us a call, shoot us an email, we'll help you get access to that video. But we'll just click on the ATO and it will open up ATO online services. Okay, from here we can view those few bits of information that the Director ID application needs. So your bank account details, your financial institution details is under My Profile, and it shows what the ATO has on file. If you use a tax agent, it's probably your tax agent's details. That's fine, don't change it, you leave it as it is. But just note those down because you'll need those for the application. A couple other things possibly you'll need are your superannuation fund details. So under super, you can view the fund details that the ATO has records of. It may not be all your super, okay? You may have lost super out there, you may have super that can't be matched. Consolidating 30 registers is designed to help match everything up nice and easy. So this is what the ATO's got. Click through those, jot those details down. The other thing you can get out of here is your notice of assessment. So under tax, lodgements, income tax, you can view all your past history. But under history here, click on notice of assessment for the last year lodged, and it will bring up your actual paper notice of assessment. It'll have your reference number, your taxable income, all those details that you're going to get asked in your Director ID application. Okay, and we're back. So now that we've got that information together, we're going to click on the big green Apply Now with MyGov ID. Redirects you to the MyGov ID screen. Type in the email address linked with your MyGov ID and stick that code into your phone. Okay. Proof or record ownership. So we're going to read that really carefully, of course. Yeah, okay. Okay, there are my details. Okay, so I'm going to go with notice of assessment. So date of issue. Bear with me while I pull that up. reference number. Okay, let's have a look what they're going to need for the other things. So super funds, fund ABN and account number. Pay-as-you-go payment summary will be the gross amount. That should be relatively easy. Dividend statements, investment reference number, also called a HIN number, starts with a letter and followed by, 10 or 11 digits. Centrelink payment summary, taxable income amount, and bank account details, as I said before, could be the ones for your tax agent. And that's what I'm going to enter here. Okay. All right. Okay, so with that information in, we get this new screen pop up, apply for the director ID number. So that first step seemed to have been creating an account with the ABRS for myself. I can see up here, view user profile, log out. So it seems to have created the account and now we're into the actual applying step. So of course, this being my live application, I probably should read all this properly. That's all fine. So you'll note here within 12 months of my application. So how this is working is if you're a director as of 31 October 2021, you've got 12 months, you've actually got 13 months to get your director ID application done. So you don't have to do it immediately. You've got 13 months to get it done. If you become a director from 1 November to I think the 4th of April, you've got 28 days to get your application done. So you need to do that pretty quickly in that case. But from the 5th of April 2022, you actually have to do this before you become a director. So you cannot become a director unless you have a director ID number at that point. When getting a director ID number, you have to be appointed as a director within 12 months for that application to be valid. Okay, so if I think I'm going to be a director of a company, get my director ID and it doesn't pan out, it will expire in 12 months and then I have to reapply should I want to be a director again later on. So that's what that refers to. If you're already a director, then you just tick that, that's fine. These are the normal conditions on being a director. You know, individual, adult, not disqualified. I'm all of those, thankfully. Okay, so now we're going to get checked. It's going to ask for applicant details. Have I previously, so have I ever changed my name? No, I haven't. Place of birth, so that is as per your birth certificate. Residential address will be as per the ATO. Now you can, looks like you can nominate a different postal address. Stick in your contact details. Email address. Okay, I'm just going to run through those and double check. Beautiful. Okay, what have I done there? Please review. Email is unable to be verified. I don't know how they're planning on verifying an email address. But it's definitely correct, so I will follow through and declare that it's correct. Okay, done. They've given me a director ID number. Fantastic. I won't receive it via post. Go to person details to find your director ID at any time. So this will probably come back to the managing your director ID that we saw earlier on. I might try and circle back to that in a second. Open a printer-friendly version. So if you're one of our clients, I would actually I'm going to ask that you definitely do this. Grab a printer-friendly PDF, save it to PDF, save it somewhere, and email that PDF to us, okay? Because we need this director ID recorded in our software, because at some point later on, we actually have to link your director ID to your name on all these records. So we need this director ID number. So please make sure you print it out. If you're not one of our clients, I highly recommend saving it, printing it, sending it to your accountant. You're going to need it. Okay, so next steps, give the director ID. That's fine. Okay, looks like that's pretty much done. I'm going to click on home. So this is the log. So when I now log into the manage my ID, so if I go back to excuse me, manage your director ID, there'll hopefully be a login. There's not a login there. Okay, there's some information there, but very soon there will be a way to, up here, log in, which will be log into your account, which will show this screen, I imagine, not having been through this before. And from in here, you'll be able to view your personal details, view your user profile, and hopefully in the future change things and edit things. But as you saw, that is a really quick process to get your director ID. It's instantaneous. So there's no reason why you can't do it in 10-15 minutes and get it sent off to your accountant, have it all linked up and be done and not have to worry about it. So yeah, nice and easy, really quick. If there are any questions, feel free to contact our office, contact your accountant if we're not your accountant. And we'll help you as best we can. No worries. Thanks for watching.